The alien queen's child ran to me and shouted, "Father!" No one in the palace could speak. Daniel Brooks walked slowly into the palace hall. He had never seen anything like this before. The walls were tall and smooth, shining with a pale light that seemed to come from inside the stone. The ceiling was high, and strange patterns moved slowly across it. He felt small and out of place. Around him, aliens in long robes moved quietly. Some had many arms, some had bright glowing eyes, and some had skin that shimmered like water. Daniel kept his hands folded in front of him, trying not to stare. The palace was silent except for the soft hum of light and air. There were no doors he could see, only open spaces and smooth floors. Guards with sharp, curved weapons walked slowly along the walls, their movements perfect and controlled. Daniel's heart beat faster. He had come here as a diplomat for Earth, representing humans for the first time in this part of the galaxy. He was supposed to speak with Queen Valera, the leader of the Star Empire, and her council. He took a deep breath and tried to remember the training he had. Stay calm. Observe, speak carefully, but nothing could prepare him for what happened next. From the far end of the hall, a figure appeared. It was small, no taller than a human child of 6 or 7. It ran quickly across the polished floor. Daniel did not understand at first. Children were not allowed near the council meetings. Every alien court he had read about followed strict rules. The child came closer, eyes wide and glowing softly. Then, to everyone's shock, the child ran straight to Daniel. "Father!" the child shouted. The voice was clear and strong. It echoed in the hall. The sound made everyone stop. Guards froze mid-step. Nobles turned their heads. The queen herself, who stood near a tall throne, seemed frozen in place. No one could speak. The palace had never seen such a thing. Daniel's mind froze. Father. How could a strange alien child call him father? He bent down slowly, unsure what to do. The child reached him and grabbed his leg. Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. The child's eyes were full of recognition, full of something he could not explain. I don't understand," Daniel said quietly. His voice sounded strange in the hall. It felt like the words were wrong. The queen stepped forward. Her face was pale, almost white. She raised a hand, trying to calm the court, but no words came from her mouth. Her eyes were wide with fear and surprise. She had never imagined this moment. The child, her child, had spoken a human word that connected to this stranger in front of her. An alien translator floating nearby began to hum and twist. It repeated the words slowly. "Father, father, father," it said in the human language. The court murmured. Whispers moved like wind across the palace. The nobles and advisors tried to understand. The word had meaning, power, and danger. Daniel looked at the child. It smiled, a small happy smile, and clung to his leg. I don't know what to do," he said again. He knelt slowly and held out his hand. The child let go of his leg and ran to him, wrapping arms around his neck. The palace seemed frozen. No one moved. Even the guards did not reach for their weapons. They only watched. Daniel held the child carefully. It was smaller than a human child, but it had strength. Its skin shimmered like silver in the light. Its hair was soft and bright, moving slightly as if it were alive. The queen finally spoke, but her voice was a whisper. This cannot happen." She looked at the council and then at Daniel. Her eyes were filled with fear. "Laws, ancient laws," she said, unable to continue. Daniel looked around. The nobles had pale faces. They were trying to understand. Some whispered to each other. Some looked angry, some looked afraid. He did not understand their language, but their emotions were clear. They feared him, they feared the child. Why did you call me father?" Daniel asked the child softly. The child looked up at him, eyes wide. "I know you," it said. Its voice was soft but clear. I waited for you." The words struck Daniel like a blow, waited for him. How could this be? He had never met this child before in his life. Yet the child's eyes held truth. He felt it. A strange bond, strong and undeniable. The queen took a step closer, still trembling. She looked at the child with sorrow and fear. You were not supposed to speak," she said. "You were not meant to choose." She looked at Daniel again. You are not prepared for this." Daniel shook his head slowly. "I don't know what is happening. I don't know why this child came to me." He held the child tighter. It did not let go. It whispered softly, "I am yours." The palace grew more tense. The council members began to argue among themselves in whispers. The translators tried to repeat their words, but it sounded harsh and strange. Daniel did not understand, but he could see the fear and anger in their eyes. They did not want this. They did not want a human connected to the queen's child. A guard stepped forward slowly, trying to reach the child. Daniel moved slightly, placing his hand between them. The guard stopped, unsure. Even in their silent communication, it seemed the child had power. The room felt charged, like the air before a storm. Queen Valera finally found her voice. He is the father. The child has chosen," she said. Her voice was soft but strong. The hall went silent again. Everyone froze at her words. The queen had acknowledged it. The human was the father. Daniel looked at the queen, then at the child. He did not understand. How can this be?" he asked. The queen shook her head. "It is older than memory," she said. She motioned for Daniel to follow her. "Come, we must speak privately. It is the only way." The child released him slightly, but held his hand. It walked beside him as they followed the queen through winding halls and large open spaces. Daniel looked around, seeing the palace in a new way. The walls were alive with light and energy. The floors seemed to breathe slightly. Everything felt alive, yet calm. They reached a large chamber at the back of the palace. It was filled with light, but no one else was inside. The queen sat on a low seat. The child ran to her, then looked at Daniel. "Father," it said again, softly. The queen studied Daniel. "You unknowingly gave part of yourself long ago," she said. Your child is alive. You did not know. No one told you." "It was meant to stay hidden." Daniel shook his head. I don't remember. I never," he trailed off. He could not understand. The words were too strange, too impossible. Yet the child looked at him with certainty. Its small hand pressed against his arm, and he felt warmth. "Long ago," the queen continued, "humans were studied. Your species, it was discovered, your genes compatible in ways no other life is. It was secret. It was forbidden. But now it is real." Daniel looked at the child again. It smiled at him softly, simply. "I am yours," it said. And for the first time in his life, Daniel felt that he had someone who needed him completely. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of the walls and the quiet breathing of the child. Outside, the palace remained still. No one could speak. No one moved. The court, the guards, the nobles, all were frozen in shock. The impossible had happened. A human had been chosen by the queen's child. The galaxy, it seemed, would never be the same. Daniel held the child closer. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know what danger or power this would cause. All he knew was that the child had found him, had called him father, and that alone changed everything. Daniel sat in the quiet chamber, holding the child's small hand. The child's eyes sparkled like sunlight on water. It looked up at him and smiled, a smile full of trust and love. Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had never felt this way before. This small being depended on him completely. Queen Valera sat across from them, her hands folded in her lap. Her face was pale, but her eyes were strong. She looked at Daniel for a long time before speaking. "You must understand," she said slowly, "this is not just a child. This is something much older than memory, something older than the empire itself." Daniel frowned. I don't understand," he said. "How can this be? I never met this child before. I never." He stopped. He did not want to admit it, but the truth was clear. The child's words, its touch, its eyes, they told him something. Something real. The queen nodded. Long ago, before the empire was built, our scientists tried to create perfect rulers. They experimented with many species. They wanted leaders who could guide the galaxy without fear, without mistake. They failed many times. Most creations were weak. Most were dangerous. But then humans were discovered. Daniel blinked. Humans? Why humans? Because your species, your genes, they are special. Your biology is flexible. Your minds, they form bonds unlike any other life. It is not just strength. It is not just intelligence. It is connection. Humans connect deeply. Other species, they cannot. They only obey, they only follow rules. Humans feel, love, care. The queen's voice was soft, almost reverent. Daniel stared at her. He could not believe what he was hearing. You mean this child is mine?" The child tugged gently at his hand. "Yes," it said. "You are mine. I waited." The queen closed her eyes and nodded. "Yes, it is true. Years ago you gave a small sample during a medical exchange program. You did not know. No one told you. It was meant to remain secret. It was kept from the empire because it was forbidden to mix species in this way. Humans were not to be part of our experiments, but the child survived. It grew. It is alive. And it chose you." Daniel shook his head slowly. He could not believe it. I never thought. I was just helping, just doing my job. I never imagined." "It is not your fault," the queen said gently. "The child did not know you. You did not know it. Yet somehow the bond formed. It is natural. It is human. The child's choice, it is real. It cannot be broken." The child leaned against Daniel's chest. "I knew you," it whispered. "I waited. I needed you." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He had never felt such love, such trust from anyone. He had never been responsible for another life in this way. He looked at the queen. "What happens now?" he asked. The queen's face darkened. "Now you must understand the danger. The empire will not accept this easily. Many will fear you. Many will try to take the child from you. They will not understand that this is not a tool, not a weapon. This is life. Your child, your family, it is the first of its kind." Daniel swallowed hard. He had known the political dangers of being a human diplomat, but this was something else. This was life and death, family and empire. The weight pressed down on him, heavy and real. Yet he felt no fear for himself, only for the child. "You must stay with the child," the queen continued. "You must protect it. Show the empire that your bond is real. Show them that humans are not just tools or weak beings. Show them that humans can care, can love, can protect." Daniel nodded slowly. "I will do it," he said. "I will protect the child. I do not care what they think. I will not let anyone harm it." The child looked up at him with wide eyes. "You promise?" it asked. "I promise," Daniel said, holding the child closer. He felt a sense of purpose, a strength he had never known before. The child's trust gave him courage. The queen leaned back in her seat. "Then we must act carefully. There are others who will not understand. There are nobles who will try to use the child for power. There are soldiers who will see you as a threat. You must be prepared." Daniel looked around the chamber. It was quiet, safe for now. But he knew the palace was filled with eyes, whispers, and secret plans. Danger was close. Yet he did not feel fear. He felt something stronger. He felt determination. He felt love. He felt the human spirit rising within him. How can the child know me?" Daniel asked quietly. "I never met it before." The queen's eyes softened. "Humans, your kind, form bonds in ways others cannot understand. The child sensed you, recognized your spirit. It reached for you because it knew you were right. You are its father. It does not matter that you never met. The bond existed before words, before memory." The child smiled and held his hand tightly. "I knew you," it said again. "I always knew." Daniel felt tears fall. He had never been a father. He had never imagined holding a child, being responsible for someone else's life. But now, in this moment, he understood. This was not just duty. This was connection. This was human strength. "We must go to the council," the queen said finally. We must tell them the truth. We must prepare for their reaction. Some will accept it, but many will not. You must be ready for anger, fear, even violence. But the bond of the bond cannot be broken. Daniel nodded. He took a deep breath. He looked at the child. We will face them together, he said. The child nodded, small hands gripping his tightly. They left the chamber together, walking through the long halls of the palace. The walls shimmered with soft light. The floors seemed alive. Every corner had eyes, every shadow had a presence. Yet Daniel felt calm. He felt ready. He felt the human strength within him, the ability to protect, to love, to survive. As they approached the council chamber, the child whispered, "I am not afraid. I have you." Daniel smiled, a small smile full of hope. "And I will never let you go," he whispered back. The doors to the council chamber were huge, made of metal and light. They opened silently as the queen gestured. The council waited. Their faces were cold, serious. Their eyes were sharp. They had never seen a human hold such a bond with a royal child. The air was heavy with tension. The queen spoke first. "The child has chosen," she said. "The human is its father. This is not a choice of politics, not a choice of power. This is the truth. The bond is real." The council members murmured, whispered, and some even gasped. The child stood next to Daniel, holding his hand. It did not look afraid. It looked proud, confident, strong. Daniel stepped forward. "I do not want power," he said slowly. "I do not want to rule. I only want to protect this child. I will not allow anyone to harm it. I will not use it as a weapon or a symbol. It is a life, and I will care for it as a father should." The council stared at him, shocked. No human had ever spoken this way. No human had ever claimed such responsibility without fear. Some members looked angry. Some looked doubtful. Some seemed to be thinking, realizing something new. The queen watched quietly. She knew that this moment would change the empire. She knew that humans were stronger than anyone had imagined, not in weapons but in heart. And she knew that the child's choice would mark the beginning of something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The child looked up at Daniel and whispered, "We are together now." Daniel nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility, but he also felt pride. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be human, to protect, to love, to fight without weapons. He held the child's hand tightly and prepared for whatever the Empire would send next. Outside, the palace seemed calm, but inside, the balance of power had already shifted. The truth older than memory was now alive, and a human had become the key to it. Daniel stood outside the council chamber, holding the child's hand. The small hand was warm and steady. The child looked up at him with trust and hope. Daniel took a deep breath. He knew the council would not accept them easily. The empire had rules, old laws, and centuries of tradition. They would test him. They would try to prove that a human could not be a father to an alien child. Queen Valera appeared beside him. "They will test you," she said softly. "It is not strength they will measure. It is your heart. It is your mind. It is your character. If you fail, the empire may take the child from you." Daniel nodded slowly. He looked at the child. "We will face it together," he whispered. The child smiled, small and confident. It squeezed his hand and said, "I am not afraid. I have you." They entered the chamber. The council was seated in a semicircle. The room was vast and cold, with floors that reflected the light above. The council members had long robes, many arms, and eyes that glowed. They stared at Daniel and the child. The air was tense, heavy with silence. The council leader spoke first. His voice was sharp and steady. "Human, you claim to be father to our queen's child. You must prove your worth. We do not test strength alone. We test compassion, honesty, patience, and wisdom. Fail, and the child will be taken from you. Succeed, and the empire may acknowledge your bond." Daniel felt a chill, but he nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." The council signaled a group of guards. They carried small devices that could simulate dangers. The first test was a simulation of fear. The child was placed on a high platform above a glowing pit. The council said, "Bring the child safely to the ground. Use only your mind, your spirit, and your care. Do not use force." Daniel stepped forward. He felt the child's small hand grip his tightly. He closed his eyes for a moment and focused on the child's feelings. He reached out slowly and the child relaxed. Daniel spoke softly, words in human language that the child could understand. "It's okay. I am here. I will not let you fall." The platform began to tilt slightly, simulating danger. The child trembled but did not cry. Daniel's heart raced. He imagined himself holding the child, protecting it, keeping it safe. He moved carefully, guiding the child's balance, his hands steady. Step by step they reached the ground. The council observed silently. The test was complete. The child smiled at Daniel. "You kept me safe," it said. Daniel felt a small warmth of pride, but he knew this was only the beginning. The council moved to the next test. This one was for honesty. The child was presented with two small objects. One was glowing, bright, and tempting. The other was plain and simple. The council said, "Choose one. You may not take both, but the human may guide you." Daniel looked at the child. He did not need to speak many words. He knelt and whispered, "Choose the one you feel is right. Trust yourself." The child picked the plain object. The council nodded slowly. It was the correct choice. They had tested desire and temptation, and the child, guided by Daniel, had made the honest choice. Next was patience. A device projected moving shapes and noises around the child. The shapes were confusing, scary, and fast. The council said, "Maintain calm. Show patience. If the child panics, you fail." Daniel held the child's hand and spoke softly. "Breathe with me. Watch slowly. Do not rush. We will wait together." The child breathed slowly, following Daniel. The confusing shapes moved, swirled, and changed, but the child stayed calm. The council watched in silence. The human's presence had guided the alien child to patience. The test was passed. The final test was wisdom. The child was asked to make a decision about the future. The council presented two paths, one that would give the child power and privilege, the other that would bring safety and peace. The child looked at Daniel. He held its hand and said, "Choose the path that feels right for you. Think about others, not just yourself." The child paused, small fingers gripping Daniel's hand. Then it chose the path of safety and peace. The council nodded slowly. The choice was wise. It reflected the values Daniel had taught without words: care, compassion, protection. The chamber grew silent. The council observed. Some members whispered among themselves. Many had never seen a human display such strength without weapons, such power without force. The child's calm, guided by Daniel, had shown them a new kind of human strength: love, patience, and understanding. Queen Valera stood. "The tests are complete," she said. "The human has passed. The child's bond is real. Their connection is true. The Empire must acknowledge it." Daniel felt relief, but he did not relax fully. He knew the council would not all accept this easily. Some nobles still looked skeptical, others angry. He looked at the child. "We did it," he whispered. The child smiled, leaning against his chest. Outside the chamber, whispers spread quickly. The Empire was abuzz with news of the human who had passed the trials. Humans had always been underestimated. They had been seen as weak, impulsive, and unimportant. But now, a single human had shown a power they could not understand. Not through weapons, not through control, but through compassion and connection. In the following days, Daniel remained close to the child. He learned to understand the child's small gestures, its needs, and its thoughts. He taught it simple things about humans and life on Earth. In return, the child taught him patience, joy, and hope. Every moment together strengthened the bond. Every smile, every small hand held, deepened the connection. The council called meetings to discuss the outcome. Some members tried to challenge Daniel, saying humans could not be trusted. Others began to speak quietly of respect. They could see it now. The human was not weak. The human could guide, protect, and love. The child had chosen wisely. The human had passed the trials. The council could not ignore it. One evening, Daniel walked with the child on the palace terrace. The sky was filled with stars, brighter than any he had seen on earth. The city below glowed with soft light. The child looked up at the stars. "They are beautiful," it said. Daniel smiled. "They are, and one day you will see more. One day you will know the stars like I do. But for now, you are safe. You are mine." The child hugged him tightly. "I am happy," it whispered. "I have you." Daniel held it close, feeling a strength he had never known. Humans had faced wars, dangers, and unknown worlds. Humans had survived not because they were the strongest, but because they cared, because they connected, because they loved. Now he understood fully. His bond with the child was proof. Humans could change the galaxy simply by being human. The trials were over, but challenges remained. The Empire still had nobles who feared change, who feared humans. The palace still held danger. Yet, for the first time, Daniel felt a quiet confidence. He had faced the impossible and succeeded. He had protected the child. He had proven human strength. And the child had chosen him, not for power, not for politics, but for love. And that was stronger than any weapon, stronger than any rule. It was proof that humans could stand among the stars, not as conquerors, but as fathers, as protectors, as beings capable of the deepest connection. Daniel looked at the child and whispered, "We will face the Empire together. Whatever comes next, we are ready." The child smiled, small and bright. "I have you. I am ready." And in that moment the palace began to understand something new. A human strength was not in control, not in fear, not in power. It was in the heart, in the bond, in the simple courage to care for another. And that bond would not be broken. The palace had grown tense after the trials. Whispers filled every hallway, every corner. Nobles spoke in hushed tones about the human who had passed the tests and the child who had chosen him. Some admired the bond, but others were angry, fearing change and loss of control. Daniel walked with the child through the palace corridors. The child's small hand clutched his tightly. He could feel its heart beating fast, but it did not let go. Daniel knew danger could be close. Some nobles had already started plotting. They did not want a human to be part of the royal line. They saw it as a threat. Queen Valeera appeared beside them. Her face was serious, but her eyes were soft with concern. "They are planning," she said quietly. "There is a faction that wants to take the child. They will not accept your bond. You must be careful." Daniel looked at her. "What can we do? We passed the trials. We proved our bond." "The trials are not enough," the queen said. "Some will not listen to reason. They will try to act in secret. We must be ready." That night the palace seemed calm, but danger moved silently. A group of guards, loyal to the faction, entered the halls with weapons designed to restrain the child. They moved quickly, thinking no one would see them. Daniel sensed something was wrong. He held the child closer. "Stay close," he whispered. "Trust me." The guards appeared suddenly, surrounding them. The child cried out, "Father!" Daniel stepped forward. He did not raise a weapon. He did not strike. He looked at the guards with calm eyes, showing no fear. "You will not harm this child," he said firmly. His voice was steady, full of human strength. The guards hesitated. They had expected fear, panic, or weakness. Instead, they saw a human who did not flinch, who did not give up. The child stood firm beside him, small but brave. Queen Valeera appeared at the doorway. Her presence was commanding. "Stop," she said. The guards froze. She looked at the faction members who had sent them. "This is my child. This human is its father. Any attack will be seen as treason." The faction members whispered to each other. They were angry, but they could not act openly. The queen's words carried power, but the rules of the palace allowed for secret action. Daniel knew that danger was not gone. It had only moved into shadows. He held the child's hand. "We must leave," he said. "They will try again. We need safety." The queen nodded. There is a hidden chamber. Only a few know its location. You will be safe there for now. But you must understand, the Empire will test us again, and the tests may not be fair. They moved quickly through secret passages. The walls were smooth and glowing softly. The corridors twisted and turned, and no one outside could follow them easily. Finally, they reached a hidden room. It was warm, quiet, and safe for the moment. The child sat on a small bench, breathing heavily. "They tried to take me," it whispered. "I was scared." Daniel knelt beside it. "You are safe now. I am here. I will protect you." He felt a surge of determination. The danger in the palace could not shake his resolve. The child trusted him completely. That was all that mattered. Queen Valera stepped forward. "The choice is mine," she said softly. "I can follow tradition and remove the human from the child's life, but then the child will be taken and the bond broken. Or I can protect my child, accept the human as its father, and face the Empire's anger." Daniel looked at her. "You must do what is right for your child," he said. "The Empire's rules are not more important than life. The child needs you, and I will help you protect it." The Queen took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly. "The Empire has never faced a choice like this," she said. "They fear humans, they fear change, but my child has chosen, and I will not take that away. I will protect it. I will protect you both." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed in the hall outside. Someone had discovered the hidden room. Shadows moved under the doors. The faction was trying again. Daniel stood, holding the child close. "We cannot hide forever," he said. "We must be ready to face them." The Queen nodded. "Then we face them together." They prepared for confrontation. The chamber was small, but it had barriers that could hold off attackers for a short time. Daniel and the child stood side by side. The Queen took a position near the entrance, ready to defend her family. The doors burst open. Several guards rushed in, weapons drawn. Daniel did not panic. He stepped forward, using only his presence and words. "Stop!" he shouted. The guards froze. The child cried out, "Father!" Daniel reached out, speaking calmly. "We do not need violence. You cannot take this child. You will not harm it. Step back and see reason." The Queen raised her voice. "This is my child. Any attack is treason. Leave now or face the consequences." The guards hesitated. They had orders, but the authority of the Queen was clear. Some lowered their weapons. Others looked uncertain. The tension was thick, like a storm before the rain. Daniel took a step closer to the child. "We are stronger together," he whispered. "We face them with courage, not fear." The child nodded. "I am not afraid," it said. "I have you." The remaining guards stepped back. The faction members had not expected such courage. A human and a child standing together with the Queen behind them had shown strength that no weapon could break. Queen Valera spoke firmly. "This is over. My child chooses its father. You cannot take it. Leave or face the Empire's judgment." Silence filled the room. Then slowly the guards withdrew. The faction members glared, but they knew they could not act openly. The bond between human and child, backed by the Queen, was undeniable. Daniel held the child tightly. "It is over for now," he said. "We are safe." The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have shown the Empire something they have never seen. Humans are not weak. They are strong because of love, not fear. This bond, it will change everything." The child smiled up at Daniel. "I am happy," it whispered. "We are together." Daniel felt a deep warmth in his chest. He had faced danger, threats, and fear, and he had not faltered. He had protected the child, shown courage, and proven that human strength was different from the Empire's expectations. Queen Valera looked at both of them. "I have made my choice," she said softly. "The Empire may resist, but my child will not be taken. I will face the council. I will face the nobles. I will protect what is mine." Daniel nodded. "Then we stand together. We will face them as a family." The child clung to him. "I have you," it said. "I am not afraid." Outside, the palace moved with whispers and fear. The faction had failed, but they would not give up. The empire was changing, whether they liked it or not. The presence of a human, the choice of the child, and the courage of the queen had begun to reshape the rules of the galaxy. Daniel looked at the stars through a high window. The galaxy seemed larger, full of possibilities and danger. Yet he felt ready. He had the child, the queen, and the human strength within him. He could face whatever came next. The queen placed a hand on the child's head. "You are safe," she said, "and your father, he is worthy." The child smiled, small and bright. "I knew it," it whispered. "I have you." And in that moment the palace understood something new. Strength was not only in power, weapons, or rules. It was in courage, care, and the bonds of the heart. A human had shown them that, and nothing would be the same again. Daniel held the child close. He knew the danger was not gone, but he also knew one truth. Love and trust were stronger than fear, stronger than any law, stronger than the empire itself. Together they would face the future. Ready for whatever challenges awaited. The palace was quiet now, but the air was heavy with tension. Whispers still moved through the halls. Nobles who had opposed Daniel and the child spoke in small groups, their voices cautious. Some still hoped to undo what had happened, but many had begun to see a new truth. Humans were not what they had expected. Humans could care, protect, and lead without power or weapons. Daniel walked through the halls with the child in his arms. The small being clutched him tightly, head resting on his shoulder. The palace had never seen a bond like this. It was not based on fear, authority, or control. It was based on trust, love, and protection. And in that trust, the child gave Daniel strength he had never known. Queen Valera followed closely behind. She was calm now, but her eyes were alert. She knew the empire was changing, and not all of it would be easy. Some nobles would resist. Some would plot in secret, but she had made her choice. She would protect her child, and she would protect Daniel. Together, they were a new force in the palace, one that no one could ignore. The council gathered again. This time there was no testing. The trials had been completed. The council leader spoke, his voice formal and steady. "The human has passed our trials. The child has chosen its father. The queen has acknowledged this bond. The empire recognizes the bond between human and child. All attempts to remove the child from its father are forbidden." A murmur moved through the chamber. Some nobles bowed, accepting the decision. Others remained silent, their faces tight with frustration. The empire had rules, but sometimes the heart had power stronger than rules. The council had spoken, and even the resistant members could not openly oppose it. Daniel knelt beside the child. "Do you understand?" he asked softly. "You are safe. No one can take you from me now." The child nodded, small fingers gripping his hand. "I understand. I am happy." "We are together." Queen Valera watched them quietly. "You have changed everything," she said softly to Daniel. "Your bond, your courage, it has shown the empire what humans can do, not through weapons but through care, patience, and strength of heart." Daniel smiled. He felt tired but strong. He had faced danger, trials, and fear, and he had not faltered. He had protected the child, shown human strength, and gained the queen's trust. He looked at the child and whispered, "We will face the future together. Whatever comes next, we are ready." Outside the chamber, the palace moved slowly back to normal. Life continued, but something had shifted. The empire had always feared humans, seeing them as weak or simple. Now, a human had become part of the royal family, a father to the queen's child. The perception of humans was changing. They were not conquerors or tools. They were protectors, capable of love and courage beyond measure. In the following days, Daniel and the child spent time learning from each other. The child taught him small things about the empire, its customs, and its language. Daniel taught the child simple things about Earth, the sun, the stars, human games, and human stories. They laughed together, played together, and grew closer with every passing moment. Their bond deepened, becoming unbreakable. The queen observed quietly. She knew that humans had potential far beyond what anyone had imagined. She also knew that the child's choice had shifted power in the palace. The faction that had opposed them was still present, but their influence had weakened. They could no longer challenge the bond openly. The queen had changed the rules simply by standing for her child and trusting Daniel. One evening, Daniel took the child to a high balcony overlooking the city. The lights below shimmered like stars on the ground. The sky above was filled with distant suns and planets. The child looked up, eyes wide with wonder. "They are beautiful," it whispered. Daniel smiled. "Yes, and one day you will see more. One day you will explore the stars like no one else. But for now you are safe, you are mine, and I will protect you always." The child hugged him tightly. "I know, I have you. I am not afraid." The days passed, and news spread across the empire. Humans were no longer underestimated. Stories of Daniel's courage, the trials, and the child's choice were told in whispers and later in formal records. Humans were respected, not for their weapons or their armies, but for their hearts. They had shown a new kind of strength, one that could change the galaxy without firing a single shot. The palace gradually returned to daily life, but Daniel and the child remained at the center of attention. They were a symbol of something new: unity, care, and courage. Nobles who had opposed them began to speak cautiously, acknowledging that the humans' presence could not be denied. The empire was learning, slowly but surely, that humans were capable of love, protection, and leadership. Queen Valera often stood beside them, watching quietly. She felt pride and relief. She had made the right choice. She had protected her child and embraced the human who had proven himself. The child was happy, safe, and growing, and the empire had witnessed something it had never seen before: a human father chosen by an alien child. One morning, Daniel stood with the child on the palace terrace. The sky was filled with soft light, the stars fading as a new day began. The child looked up at him and said, "Father, thank you for protecting me, for being with me." Daniel held the child close, feeling the warmth and trust. "I will always protect you," he said. "No matter what comes next, we are together and nothing can break us." The child smiled, small and bright. "I am happy. I have you." As they looked out over the city, Daniel realized that humans had not only survived among the stars, they had made a difference. Not through power, not through fear, but through simple, unyielding care. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was part of that change. Later, in a quiet moment, Daniel spoke with the queen. "We did not conquer, we did not fight, we simply cared, we simply loved, and that was enough to change the empire." Queen Valera nodded. "Yes, humans are stronger than anyone realized. Not because of weapons, but because of heart. Your presence here has shown the galaxy what it means to be human." Daniel smiled. He looked at the child playing nearby, small hands moving, bright eyes watching the world. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. "Humans can change the galaxy not with war but by being human." The queen watched them quietly. She knew it was true. The empire had been shaken, not by force but by love, care, and courage. The child had chosen wisely, and the human had proven that humanity could stand among the stars with honor and heart. The palace remained quiet, but the change was permanent. The council, the nobles, and the empire had witnessed a new kind of strength. Humanity had achieved victory not with armies, not with weapons, but through the quiet power of love, trust, and protection. Daniel held the child's hand and whispered, "We are ready for anything. Together we can face the future." The child looked up at him, eyes full of trust. "I have you, I am not afraid." And in that moment Daniel understood fully. Humans had not only survived among the stars, they had become a force of change. Quietly, steadily, and without violence, humanity had proven its worth. The child laughed softly, a sound full of joy. Daniel smiled. The queen watched with pride. The palace had changed, the empire had changed, and humanity had quietly, completely won. They were together. They were safe, and they were ready for whatever the galaxy would bring next.